Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Flying and Eating. Today, let's go somewhere and do something, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Hey guys, it's Adam here. So in today's adventure, we're actually doing a whole bunch of stuff. This is going to be like the previous episode if you hadn't seen it, or if you did. Basically, the framework of this is that I'm already at O'Hare, and you're going to be cutting the little segments of me in between other little mini adventures. It's kind of like a TV sitcom where they've gone too long and they run out of ideas and they do a clip show. This is like that, except it's all brand new footage you've never seen before. So, because basically all these little trips, they weren't long enough to justify having entire videos, but I wanted to still show you guys some stuff that went down. So the first one up, we're going to Philadelphia. I want to show you guys something that I've been wanting to see. I think I saw this when I was a kid, but I don't really remember. Independence Hall. Of course, this is famous for where the Declaration of Independence was signed. So formally, technically, this is really where the beginning of America starts, minus all the other obvious parts of history, French and Indian War, and obviously the taxation without representation issue that led up to the 4th of July. And really, the 4th was just when they completed the signatures, and it was just a declaration. It wasn't when we achieved independence, and they started signing it on the 2nd. Doesn't matter. It's still a nice symbol of Americana, and it's still here, obviously. It's a huge thing. So I wanted to see it along with a few other sites, and I thought you guys might enjoy it. You know what makes me really sad hanging around here is the number of people who've made the same joke about trying to find Nicolas Cage and bring here the Declaration of Independence with a secret message on the back. Those movies are terrible. Yes, obviously the Sega Pluto has made it to Independence Hall. It's where freedom began. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of hard to come up with little one-liners for the Pluto when it goes somewhere. Leaving Independence Hall right there behind me, we're gonna go check out something else that's very cool. So here's what we're going to scope out. We're in a graveyard. Not a dead president, although a lot of people think he was president. Right here, the body of Benjamin Franklin. You know, the guy in the $100 bill, pretty significant founding father. Right there. Yeah, this is really cool to see. I think I saw this when I was a kid. I mean, Benjamin Franklin is just one of those iconic American figures that you hear all about as a child. You don't have a choice. It's like him, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, yet one of the three was never president. He's probably one of the most influential Americans to ever live that simply was never president. It's very surreal. Very surreal. Also, you might have noticed, famously there's a crack in his grave that's been there for a very long time. You might be wondering what's up with all the coins, particularly the pennies. Famously, Ben Franklin said a penny saved is a penny earned. So this is, I guess, a way people pay respect to that mentality. It's a little bonus here. The United States Postal Service was actually created by Benjamin Franklin, and I believe this is the original one. And he would regularly walk through this, which is now just kind of a touristy thing, and they left up the facade so you could see it. But yeah, the USPS, technically a creation of Benjamin Franklin, as was this printing office and bindery. I actually didn't come here on purpose. This was an accident. That's cool. Now we're gonna do one other thing, because it's just so quintessential Philadelphia. Philly cheesesteak. I'd like to point out the place we're going to is called Philly's Gourmet Steaks. Now, Philly cheesesteak is kind of like a New York pizza. Every single person has an opinion, and every single place is the best one, and every single place is the worst one. So I plead ignorance. I haven't had enough of these ever to be able to tell you which is a good one or is a bad one. The reason I selected this one, pretty decent rating on Google Maps, and walkable within my goals before I have to go back to the airport. All right, we have arrived. We are at Philly's Gourmet Steaks. Let's give it a shot. So mine has onions and it has cheese on it. It's a white cheese. I'm not sure what kind. I think maybe like provolone or something. And then we have fries to go with that. And I grabbed a Canada Dry. Yes, I felt like a ginger ale. I thought it was pretty good. But my frame of reference is kind of not great, because the only other Philly cheesesteak I've ever had, and I say that in heavy quotations, was at a place in Chicago that claimed they did it. And I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not going to get Chicago-style pizza outside of Chicago, and it doesn't make any sense to get a Philly cheesesteak in Chicago, right? So I wouldn't even count it. So with that being the case, I thought this was enjoyable, but I have no barrier, like no frame of reference to know if it was any good or not, other than just my own taste buds. They could have been like mediocre everything, and there's like a legit place somewhere else, I'm sure, but I don't know. The one thing I can judge it on is the fries, which were very nothing. And that might have been indicative of the quality of the food in general. Don't really know. That said, I enjoyed myself, and that's really all I can say on it. This is probably the biggest indicator they did it wrong. See how it's like yellow cheddar or American cheese? Mine was like a Swiss or something, and I didn't really have a choice in the matter. So, I love this juxtaposition. Independence Hall there, along with the First Amendment. One of the most valuable amendments there is. Well, I wanted to take you guys to this before we go, but there's a line out the door, and I don't have time, so yeah, Liberty Bell's in there. So Philly was all right. The cheesesteak, I've been told since, was probably not one of the better options. So in the future, I will know better and will inevitably go back and do something else. But on to the next one, which, believe it or not, we're going back to Tennessee. This time, though, we're going to Knoxville. This one is a first. I have never been here, even as a child. I never came here. Obviously known for the Great Smoky Ridge and all these other things. Let's go see what kind of stuff we can find. I'm gonna sort of show you something. Do you guys remember I did a video not that long ago where I was out in Seattle? Actually, it was kind of long ago. It was like 6 months ago, wasn't it? Anyway, I was out in Seattle, and I showed you guys a place called the Hanford site, which is where nuclear plutonium came from that set off the Trinity bomb in New Mexico, as well as the Nagasaki bomb. Well, right down here is a facility called Oak Ridge. This is actually the facility that created the uranium-235 that was in the Hiroshima bomb. So yeah, nuclear origins. I don't know, I kind of have an affinity for odd American history, or just history in general. But this is as far as we can go. I actually tried. I went up to the gate. The guy was very nice about it, but he's like, yeah, you can't be here. So he just let me circle around and leave. You have to actually work there. So yay, look, that's the best view I can possibly give you as just a standard civilian. Sorry. Kind of fascinating being here. So this area definitely embraces the fact that they're known for the Oak Ridge facility. This place, which is a credit union, is called the Y12 Credit Union, which is a direct reference to the atomic energy generated by the Oak Ridge facility. There's Oak Ridge Atomic Brewing. That came up in a Google search. It's just like, what else you got? They apparently make a beer named out of that. There's also a museum on the history of atomic warfare and all that sort of stuff, and obviously their contribution to that. Alas, closed today. We're kind of having bad luck here, and unfortunately that's going to strike again, because the next thing I wanted to take you to is to go get food. I wanted to take you to this place called, like, Jamie's Dream or something. It was like a cafe that, like, everybody said to go to. It is closed as well. So we're going to have to go to our fallback option. All right, I am now at a place called Last Days of Autumn Brewing. Now, the funny thing about this place is it looks like it's in a really sketch area. Like, there's train tracks here. It doesn't look great. But according to Google reviews, everybody said the same thing. They're like, just ignore all that. It's got a lot of parking, which I didn't have a problem doing that, and that the food is phenomenal. So basically, if you come out here and you see that, don't think it's sketch. It's nice. So let's go inside and enjoy. All right, so here's what I got. They call it the Knoxville hot chicken sandwich, obviously very similar to a Nashville hot chicken because same state. It also came with a side of potato salad. You had options of like potato chips and some other stuff, but yeah, I wasn't feeling that. I wanted the potato salad. And yes, these came with it. They had to go away. They had to go far, far away. So I just came out of there. That was fantastic. That was unique, though. I've never had anything quite like that. So at first it just looks like a chicken sandwich, right? Maybe a little spicy, whatever. No. Calling it a sandwich is kind of disingenuous. It's a sandwich really only in concept and the fact that it has the ingredients of a sandwich. I was warned about that. It's basically they give you a fork and a knife because they're expecting it's going to fall apart on you, which it absolutely will. But that's okay. It's supposed to happen. So the chicken itself, I've never had chicken that done that way. Like, it was spicy, but it had like it was like grilled chicken that was crispy, not fried. It was weird. And then the flavoring, it's like they used a mix of like dry spices and I don't know if what they marinated in or whatever. Very unique blend. That was really good. It was a lot of food and it was very spicy, so it really I'm gonna regret that a little bit later. But man, that was good. And I had the side of potato salad, also good. But the actual chicken sandwich, again, I'm saying that kind of in quotations because it's not really a sandwich. Very good. I do recommend this place. If you ever come out to Knoxville, again, don't let the environment fool you. Find a place to park, go in there and get something. I am now in Greeneville, Tennessee. This town is not known for much, other than the fact that President Andrew Johnson was from here. He was the guy who took over after Lincoln, and this city has really embraced it to the point where this is the name of my hotel, the Andrew Johnson Inn. So my prediction on that chicken was a little bit right, you know what I'm saying? Like, that hurt on the way out. Yeah, speaking of that concept of bad things, defecation, we have the defecation of a presidency, Andrew Johnson. That was my way of saying he was a bad president. But there he is. He's buried here in Greeneville, Tennessee. This whole town, man, like, they really own the fact that they had a president, which all towns in the States do this. If you are a small town somewhere and any president came from there, they own that fact. Even when it was one who was this infamously bad. If you don't know your basic American history, this is the dude that takes over after Abraham Lincoln when he was assassinated. And this dude, let's just say he set the South back a generation or two. He didn't quite attempt to restart slavery, but he did cause a lot of problems, and Reconstruction efforts failed. And yeah, he not a good president. He really didn't have the temperament to be on the job. He just happened to be vice president when Lincoln was killed. All the same, there he is, and you can come check him out if you want to. I will say, having done so many presidential graves, his is one of the hardest ones to get to, just because it's not really near much of anything else. The other one being like Calvin Coolidge out in Vermont. But the rest of them are, relatively speaking, not that hard to get to, at least of the ones I've done. But all the same, he is here, and his tomb itself is actually not bad. It's kind of it's up on this like mountain and stuff. Now the really funny thing about this is I don't remember the quote because it's really long. But the dude was like a huge racist, so it's worth mentioning. But he actually really did not want to be buried here. He basically, on his deathbed, he basically tells his family, like, yeah, it's my dying wish never to be buried in Greeneville, because he hated the people here. It's a really elaborate quote. But this is how much of a jerk this dude was and how bad of a president he was. As soon as he dies, his daughter's like, yeah, he didn't want to be buried in Greeneville, put him there. So she put him where he absolutely begged to not be. So this is kind of funny. So they have this thing about how when Andrew Johnson was younger in 1852, he was a congressman, and he had climbed up this hill, and he got here, and he told his slave, supposedly, this is where he wanted to be buried, who passed on that message to his daughter and all that sort of stuff. But he changed his tune like right before he died. It was his dying wish not to be buried in Greeneville. But that's how much his daughter thought he sucked. That's where she ends up putting him. I just find that, I mean, this story is the nicer one, but then again, even in his nice story, he's still palling around with a slave. You know what I mean? Like, that's Andrew Johnson. Well, this is definitely what you would call the Andrew Johnson Square. So they have a statue of Andrew Johnson. They have the History Center, or the Visitor Center. This is his adult home, and this is actually a replica of his childhood birth home. It's not the real one, but it's there. As you can see, I'm just turning in a circle, and you can see all of these points in one spot. Also, by the way, where you see those cars, free parking lot. Free parking lot. He was born in North Carolina, I guess, and they just kind of built this in like 1999 as part of the Andrew Johnson complex. That's cool. We can go inside it, actually. It's already open. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot to see, but yeah, so inside it has a second floor. You weave stuff. I mean, fireplace. Again, this is the 1800s, early 1800s, so makes sense. And already we are outside of it. Hilariously, he was born in Raleigh, which we were just in not that long ago, but I don't think they own this at all. It's kind of awkward. It's like, yes, he was president, and Greeneville needs something. This is what you got. It's too bad it was him. Like, this dude, like, he was the first president to be impeached. There's been 4 impeachments in American history. Andrew Johnson, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump twice in his first term. And none of them ever really got close to being removed. So you don't just get impeached, you have to be impeached and removed. That second part has never happened in our history. He got the closest. He was impeached by the House of Representatives. They sent it to the Senate, who was expected to kick him out of office, but it passed by only 1 vote. Only 1 vote swung it in, you've been impeached, but you get to stay and finish the term, as opposed to being removed. So here we have the Andrew Johnson house that he lived in for a long time. I think, according to this, he got his first slave, someone named Dolly, in 1842 while living in this house. And yes, he had slaves, and according to this, he believed in gradual freedom. According to some sort of local tradition, he had freed his slaves in August of 1863, and in 1864 he was Tennessee's military governor. Don't forget the Civil War is going at that point, but he's not vice president yet. Johnson proclaimed all slaves to be freed in Tennessee a year before the 13th Amendment. You got to give him credit for that one. He was still a racist, but at least he was like anti-slavery. Again, it was that type of reasoning is how he ended up on the Lincoln ticket at all, to become vice president, to be in a position where he eventually becomes president after the assassination. That doesn't make him a good guy. He was still a bad guy, and he was a bad president. But at least in this scenario, he did the right thing a little bit late, but he still did it, you know? I'm not defending the guy, I'm just pointing out what it says. Actually, it looks like we can go inside. Let's take a quick look and see if there's anything interesting up in here. Enter. Oh yeah, little mini museum. It's automatically lit, so like lights pop on when you walk in. That's what happened in that room. But history of the Johnson family, apprenticeship, on the run. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know a whole lot about Andrew Johnson's life prior to the presidency. That's mostly where I know him from. But yeah, I'll give him credit. They at least, you know, turned his stuff into a historic site. And yeah, that became the Lincoln Johnson ticket. The road to the presidency, which was obviously completely accidental. Not a big house. It does have a basement, but it seems like that's closed off. But yeah, they try to, I mean, I don't blame them. They're trying to make him look better than he was. There's also, looks like another entryway in there, but doesn't seem to be anything we can escape to. But yeah, the only thing that's kind of, it does kind of look like it's going to point out there is the awkward fact that he replaced Hannibal Hamlin, who was Lincoln's vice president in his first term, but then they more or less kicked him off the ticket to replace him with Andrew Johnson. Interesting. I'm going to go scope out the visitor center, which is right there. So this is cool. We got the a museum in here. This is interesting. This is the apparently the Bible he took the oath of office on after the assassination. And I guess something he was, a ribbon worn by Johnson to mourn the death of Lincoln. That's interesting. This is an illustration of what happened at the Kirkwood House Hotel when he took the oath. Let's explore. Oh, look at this. We have a the tailor shop, because I guess he was a tailor at one point. I guess they preserved it inside there. Just to be clear, this is the original tailor shop, but it was moved from its original location and housed inside here. It's not like they built this building around it or anything. This is kind of fun. You can actually vote if he was guilty or not. So this is kind of fascinating. They basically make the claim that this dude, Senator Edmund G. Ross of Kansas, was, they're calling him courageous, effectively because he refused to vote to remove Johnson from office. The argument being that it would set a dangerous precedent that you could just impeach and remove presidents who are unpopular or for trivial reasons. I would not argue that Johnson's actions were trivial, but okie dokie. So because he was a tailor, which I admit I did not know that, it's cool they kept this tailor's shop, and you can hear like these sound effects they have playing of speakers and everything. He apparently made this. This is a wedding coat Andrew Johnson personally made. He apparently made a lot of stuff like that, and yeah, that's a little oh, the lights came on. A little illustration of him working in there, making stuff by trade. That's cool, actually, like legitimately cool that there's a surviving piece like that. I admit, I walked out of this learning a lot more about Andrew Johnson. One thing I guess I knew but I forgot is that he doesn't get enough credit for the ratification to purchase Alaska. Like Secretary of Seward, who was Lincoln's Secretary of State, did that, but it wasn't completed until Andrew Johnson's term, which means Johnson had to approve it. So were it not for Johnson saying, yeah, fine, I'll sign that in 1867, you wouldn't have Alaska. So that's kind of a big deal. And I genuinely had no idea he was a tailor. Okay, we are now in Johnson City, Tennessee, which actually, as far as I can tell, has absolutely nothing to do with Andrew Johnson. It's just kind of a coincidence. I don't actually know that, but I don't think it does. Anywho, what are we doing here? Well, there's one specific objective. Before we do that, though, I am hungry. So we're stopping here at the Jeremiah Cafe. Came up kind of highly rated, and I don't know, I was kind of craving some kind of very breakfasty, southerny type of food, and this seemed to be the best option for that. So I just came out of that. That was actually really good. Interesting. Okay, so first I need to explain biscuits and gravy to particularly the British, having spent a lot of time there. A biscuit is a cookie, and gravy is like turkey gravy. So when you say biscuits and gravy, they get like mortified. But you eat beans on toast. Okay, to be fair, I've done that. It's better than its reputation. Anyway, no, it's not that. It's like a. The closest thing to call it would be like a savory scone covered in a white sauce that usually has sausage and stuff in it. It's very good. There's a reason it's popular throughout the South in particular. That was very good. Also got a side of bacon and this thing called a hash brown casserole, which was basically just an excuse to eat potatoes and cheese. But it was good. Interesting thing about that location, though, is I've never been to a place like this. They have like a little banner inside at every table that basically explains that this is a training cafe for people with autism, so please be patient with them. They're trying to learn the skill sets so that they can work in other restaurants. Not that I ever am that type of person to flare up, but it's interesting that they pointed that out. But I did notice it because when I walked in, I just like, hey, I can have a table for one. You just kind of get stared at like it's a weird question. There was a bit of odd interaction for that reason, but then it made sense. So, but yeah, I think that's really cool that they do that. So the real reason we're here, you'll notice yet we're at another cemetery. Another dead president, Adam? No. Actually not. Not even a dead celebrity. In fact, not even a dead person. Not even a person. Behold, a monument to Mountain Dew. This is the grave of Mountain Dew. Now, as I understand it, Mountain Dew, you know, the very famous drink, gets its origin right here in Johnson City, Tennessee. This is where it came from. And for some reason, they gave it a grave. But it even says there's no death date. It's, you know, it was March 1969. Not dead. America's weird. We got a lot of weird stuff. Go look at it. Go explore it. So I just noticed this. That is not a joke. They put a bottle opener on it. So if you come here with a Mountain Dew, you can crack that off and have one. I did not think to do that. Well, that was quite the adventure to Tennessee, wasn't it? I bet you learned way more about Andrew Johnson than you were ever expecting to need for any sort of lifetime. And the funniest thing about that Mountain Dew thing, so obviously there's this whole joke on this channel where I just show you a bunch of presidential graves. And of course, Mountain Dew one wasn't, you know, a presidential grave. Or was it? Did you ever see Idiocracy? The official name of the president of the United States in that movie is Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Camacho. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that was his grave. Anyway, on to the next one, which will be Louisville, Kentucky. Okay, we are now in Louisville, Kentucky. We've actually been to Kentucky before in the history of this channel, but only briefly. We were in a city called Ashland, which is much further out east. We're going to do Louisville stuff, though. Okay, guys, stop number one. What do you see behind me? You see graves, that part's kind of obvious. Also, this is my rental car. They gave me a Jeep Wrangler. That is not what I wanted, but I used to sedan, so it doesn't matter. But yes, you see graves. What are we doing? It's obvious. We got another presidential grave to go to. This is President Zachary Taylor. He was the 11th president of the United States. He was the second one to die in office. He only served for like a year and a half or so. He apparently, the rumor is that he ate a bunch of cherries that got poisoned, and he supposedly died. Although in 1991 that was disproven. They exhumed his body, which is over here, and they tested it, and it turns out he just had cholera, or probably just had cholera. So that conspiracy died a long time ago. But yeah, he died even longer ago. Ooh. No, but for real. Yeah, there he is. This whole cemetery is actually named after him. At one point, he owned this land, and after he died, they decided it would actually be a good place to turn into a cemetery, not only for him, but for others. There's actually like 14,000 plus people buried in here. So if you come out here, which is totally free to do, they have a monument about him. There's a statue up there, and then there's the actual tomb where I believe he's buried with his wife. So yeah, Zachary Taylor, Louisville's dead president. So we are cruising to our next destination in this monster of a car. I kind of suddenly understand why Joseph the Hard-Off Destroyer wants a tiny baby car, because this is too big. You gotta find that happy medium. Anyway, so I got this. This is something local. It's called the Ale 8. I guess it's some sort of Kentucky soda I've never heard of before. It's been a thing since 1926, apparently. And the reason I'm doing this is because when I was down in Tennessee, apparently I should have tried a soda called Dr. Enough. I actually saw it once, but didn't know what to make of it, so I just moved past it. And after I got back, everybody's like, you should have had that! And it's like, I don't want to make that mistake again. So let's find out what Ale 8 is all about. It smells kind of like a Sprite. It's not bad. It actually kind of tastes like if you mixed a Mountain Dew and a Sprite. I've had better sodas, but I've definitely had worse ones. Not bad. I actually enjoy this. So we are wandering. We are now in a town called Fairview, Kentucky, which is about like 2.5 hours from Louisville. What are we doing here? Is it another presidential thing? Technically no, but sorta. Looks like the Washington Monument, doesn't it? This is a monument to Confederate President Jefferson Davis. If you know the Civil War, in the 4 years the Confederacy sort of existed, it had a single person that it considered to be its president, and that would be Jefferson Davis. And this is the town he was from, and they built him a clone of the Washington Monument, though it's not quite as tall. But this thing is no joke. Like, seeing this driving in, it stands out because the area we're in, super rural. But there that is. They're closed at the moment as far as like the elevator and the tourist center, but I think you can, I mean, having no problem just walking over there. It's a park, and you can go over and like look at it and stuff, so that's what we're gonna do. So in addition to this monument, there's actually a statue of Jefferson Davis here. Now I guess this used to be in one of the Capitol buildings or something. I'm not certain of what the history was, but in 2020 it was taken out of there and moved here, as this was considered the only place that would really take it. Confederate stuff is kind of a hot button thing in the United States. But anyway, it's here. I would like to contribute, though, that there are people that say, oh, it's our history and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, I'll even defend General Lee to a certain point. The guy had some integrity. This guy did not. This guy was encouraging a guerrilla warfare at the end campaign at the end of the war that all of his generals ignored him on because it would have meant fighting for generations. By the way, funny little coincidence of this particular video. So I showed you guys Zachary Taylor. I accidentally think I said he was the 11th president. He was actually 12th. He wasn't in office very long, but one of the few things that he did do is he oversaw the completion of the Washington Monument in D.C. He was president when that happened. So kind of fittingly to go to the knockoff one here in Kentucky. So worth noting, there is actually a giant elevator in this thing if you wanted to take it all the way to the top. Obviously, it's closed, so you can't do it right now, but it is a thing. I think it's like birth house and stuff is around here. I don't really care about any of that. I just want to see this because this is bizarre. This is one of those roadside America things you don't get much advertisement on. This is not downtown Washington, D.C. This is rural Kentucky, and this just exists. Free to go. I mean, I think you have to pay if you want to like go do the tour or whatever, but just to walk around the park is free. It's interesting to see. Let's leave it at that. Okay, I'm back in Louisville. I am now at a place called the Village Anchor. I want to get dinner. I know I've been annoying you guys with all the weird history and too many dead presidents and all that stuff and people who weren't president but have monuments for some reason. So I brought back another monument of the channel. I'm back! You couldn't keep me down. You thought you got rid of me, but I'm back! Real normal. He's in Louisville for a convention. It's just a complete coincidence. So we decided we're going to get dinner.
We're not even drinking yet.
No, he's not even drunk. This is just him normally.
Sadly.
I thought about getting his Dr. Pepper braised short ribs, but I'm not really going to do that. They got a thing down here called the Hot Brown or Hotter Brown. I'm going with that because apparently it's a big Louisville thing.
What am I getting? Whatever it was she said.
Oh, the special.
Well, whatever the special was, it was such a lovely array of words. All woven together in just the right order. I don't even know what it was, but I want it.
Okay, so it's a herb jasmine rice with a grilled barramundi, and then air cover and a crawfish creole sauce.
The crawfish part is the one that caught my attention the most. I love crawfish.
I heard Creole, and it was on board.
You're gonna love it. It's so good. And then the hotter brown's a classic.
Yeah, the Hotter Brown, that was what I'm all for. It's basically, from my understanding, there's bread in there. It's like, it's the ingredients of a sandwich, completely not a sandwich though.
It looks like it's awesome.
It looks like a casserole or something, but no, there's bread in there. All right, so we just came up. What was the place? The Village Anchor? The Village Anchor.
Yeah, Village Anchor.
I thought it was really good. What did you think of your food?
I thought it was fantastic. A little pricey.
That's your fault.
That's my fault. I should have asked.
So he orders the special. Doesn't ask what it costs. Doesn't even care. He's just more special.
Big spender, baby.
Yeah, give me this drink. He put down money. I put down 20% of what he paid. I just want that very clear. I just ordered the standard thing, and I was quite happy with my choice. The Hot Brown. Try the Hot Brown.
It was. It looked great. And the minute he said it, the people at the next table were all over it. Hot Brown.
Yeah, they were like, you got to do it.
Have Hot Brown.
It's
I'm
good
kind of
everywhere.
regretting it.
Yeah.
No, the food was good. I don't know if it was $58 good, but it was good.
That's just the food you saw. Again, he got drinks. 2 drinks, actually. Because of coffee, too.
The food was $58. The drink was $16, and the coffee was $4. It was $82 bill.
And he tipped 20%.
I'm
just saying.
$100. Come on.
Okay, he's drunk a little bit, so he's also.
Yeah,
and now I have to go drive. He wants me to drive him to an alcohol store.
Not a cheap.
We'll see how not cheap his is at this booze store we're going to.
I like that him in the background. I'll never own another Jeep. ever, ever, never own another Jeep, ever.
So he was just
Ever.
acknowledging my rental car, clearly sloshed on his way to go get more
I
booze.
own one, yeah. I'm drinking because of the Jeep. I'm drinking because of the Jeep. Are you seeing this? Wow. I'm glad I'm a drunk.
Fast forward, I am now home in Chicago. Actually, that flight I got upgraded to first class, so that was nice. And huge shout out again to Paul for being a good sport there. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed these two videos. Louisville was fun. I'd love to go back and spend more time there, and that basically applies to all the areas we went to in these two videos. But yeah, this is, if you hadn't figured it out, this is kind of my 4th of July episode. So happy 4th of July to my fellow Americans, because obviously, at least in this particular episode, Independence Hall. So showed you the birth of the United States. We got a couple of deceased presidents in there. We got a really bad president, to be honest, in Andrew Johnson, but then eventually we get the much worse person in Jefferson Davis, who was never president. He was just a traitor. But anyway, I just thought you guys would enjoy that little painting there of events. But that said, if you guys like this format, please let me know. I probably won't do this very often. I really only do this when I amass enough footage to make something like this, because I do these little bite-sized trips sometimes, but don't film the whole thing. Anyway, you just let me know. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you guys could do me a favor, please like the video, comment down below, subscribe if you've never done it before, and check out all the social media stuff in the description: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, Spreadshirt, etc. I appreciate the support. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all later.